Welcome to this edition of Capitol Chat. I'm your host, Matt Swenson. This is State Representative Will Morgan. Welcome, Will.
Hey, Matt. It's great to be here.
It's good to have you here in the studio, sir. It's good to have you folks tuning in at home to hear what's happening here at the State Capitol and to hear what Representative Morgan is doing on your behalf. And you folks have gotten a lot done already. We're just a few weeks into the second half of the legislative session, but already you've passed a major bonding bill, you passed a second jobs bill, and on top of that, you've already balanced 1/3 of the state budget deficit.
Absolutely, Matt. When we came down here this year, we heard loud and clear from folks. We want you to work in a bipartisan way to balance the budget and help get people back to work, and that's what we have been focused on like a laser. The first bill that we passed to help create jobs was our bonding bill. It's typically passed by the legislature in even-numbered years. We passed a good, strong bonding bill that had investments in state assets, in infrastructure like clean water, transportation, higher education, to make sure that all those things are working better, and also those investments are going to help create jobs in the private sector, because construction workers who are out of work right now, they are going to be going to work to help refurbish state education buildings, repair and rebuild roads, and help improve our clean water infrastructure. So those are great jobs in the private sector that these public investments in public buildings and public infrastructure will make and facilitate.
And because you acted early, I know you'll be able to take advantage of historically low interest rates and construction costs at a fraction of what they used to be.
Absolutely. This is the key time. These are all things that needed to be done. They need to be done periodically. It's just like every now and then you got to fix your roof. Every now and then you got to buy new appliances. Every now and then you got to fix your water heater. This is the kind of thing that the state does periodically. This was a good time to do it when people are needing to get back to work. Labor costs are as low as possible. And the people who need to get back to work, they're going to start spending money at our stores, at our restaurants, and that's going to help the economy continue to grow.
And I know you and your colleagues here in the legislature recognize that in these historically challenging times, you needed to do more than a bonding bill to get Minnesotans back to work, and that's why you passed a second jobs bill, which will help small businesses in Minnesota.
Exactly. Before we left for our Easter Passover break, we passed that second jobs bill, which contains some very important tax credits for Minnesota businesses. There was an angel investor tax credit that's been the subject of some concern for a long time on a bipartisan basis. There was an historic rehabilitation tax credit that was going to encourage folks to rehabilitate old homes and old buildings instead of tearing them down and building them new. Also going to help improve energy efficiency in those homes. And also our research and development tax credit that had been in place for large corporations, but now we've expanded that to small businesses to help our small businesses that we know really drive our economy, help those small businesses grow and expand in these tough times.
And because there is a shortage of jobs right now in Minnesota, that makes these bills more important than ever, but it also means that there's a lot less revenue coming into the state. Looking at another $994 million budget deficit this year, but you folks have already cut a huge gap out of that deficit. $313 million you've balanced already.
Much of the criticism we've heard in the past is, why do you always wait till the end to get everything done? Why don't you get things done along the way and show some progress immediately? And we did that. We have cut already 1/3 of the amount of budget cuts we need to make this year. We made some significant cuts in some areas. They were tough cuts. They were hard decisions. They were tough choices. There's no doubt about it. But they were choices that need to be made, and that's why the folks from Burnsville and Savage sent me down here. And I'm pleased to do the work. And we have some more work left to be done. Right now, we have to look at the federal government. There are some provisions in some of the bills that have recently been passed there, and some bills that are yet to pass, that are going to help improve our state's budget situation. We just don't know exactly by how much yet. But we still have some work to do, and through the course of the next 4 or 5 weeks, we'll be on top of that.
And I know as a public school teacher and a parent, you recognize the value of strong investments in our K-12 schools. And I know that the legislature is prioritizing as little possible cuts to education this year.
Exactly. We had to make some cuts to higher education, and that was not what we wanted to do, but it's what we had to do. But currently, right now, the plan is not to make any cuts to actual K-12 schools, and I'm going to do all I can to help us abide by that promise to our future generations.
Well, I know in the weeks ahead you want to hear from folks back home about what they think about what's happening here at the state capitol.
Right. We have a listening session scheduled for the 17th of April and also for the 27th of April. On the 27th of April, it's from 7 to 8 o'clock at JoJo's Rise and Wine in Burnsville, and on the 17th, also at JoJo's from 2 to 3 in the afternoon.
Well, great. Thank you for coming into the studio today, Representative Morgan. Thank you for all the great work you're doing here at the Capitol. And thanks for tuning in at home. We'll see you next time on Capitol Chat.
Thank you.